En Missouri, la comunidad hispana está creciendo y prosperando. El Día Hispano en el Capitolio es un evento crucial organizado por el Grupo de Líderes Hispanos de San Luis. Este evento, no partidista, tiene como objetivo elevar la voz de la comunidad hispana en Missouri. Su visión es un Missouri donde todos se sientan bienvenidos, valorados e incluidos. En los últimos años, la población hispana ha crecido un 42% en Missouri y sigue creciendo. Los negocios hispanos son una parte vital de nuestra economía, con más de 12,000 empresas en el estado. Apoyar las iniciativas educativas que brinden igualdad de oportunidad para todos en Missouri es de vital importancia. Defender los derechos de los votantes hispanos, representando el 14.7% de los votantes elegibles en los Estados Unidos. Promover la inclusividad lingüística, reconociendo la diversidad de idiomas en nuestro estado. Se rechaza la división y el menosprecio hacia nuestras comunidades, abogando por la inclusión y la colaboración. La Cámara de Representantes de Missouri pronto votará sobre sus sustitutos del Comité de la Cámara para la HB 2367, 2470 y la 2523. Este proyecto de ley propone tratar como delito grave cualquier infracción cometida por personas indocumentadas, lo que resultaría en detención y deportación. Se cuestiona la necesidad de un delito grave y separar a individuos de sus familias por infracciones menores. Este proyecto de ley es una estrategia política que criminaliza a los indocumentados y trata de regular inconstitucionalmente la Ley Federal de Inmigración. Se insta a tomar acción para detener esta iniciativa y se proporciona en este video un enlace para firmar una carta de oposición a este proyecto de ley. Dentro de las personalidades que se dieron cita al Día Hispano en el Capitolio se encontraba el doctor Bennett Box, comisionado del Departamento de Educación Superior.
Dr. Bennett Boggs.
El gobernador de Missouri, Michael Parson, quien después de contar un poco sobre su historia personal y cómo llegó a ser gobernador, se realizaron preguntas de amplio interés para la comunidad.
And so how can we work together to continue to make Missouri a welcoming place for our community? And so with that, let's open up the floor. I think you've already had.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
So my question is a little bit in a different vein of the conversation you just presented, but it ties into education and economic prosperity and all the rest. And as you know, one of the main costs that is really high that impacts families, especially those with low incomes, is healthcare. And right now we have a backlog of about 65,000 Medicaid applications. Those are families that really need that support. What can the state do to speed up the processing of these 65,000 Medicaid applications and get back on track with the resources that are going to sustain families to be able to go back to school more successfully?
Yeah, good question, very valid question. We have added, I think we added 200,000, or not 200,000, yeah. How many did we have? I forgot how many people we added to the call centers to be able to provide that. One of the things that is always takes so much time when you do call centers is having the information to the people that's calling in. Because what'll happen, you'll have to wait, and then all of a sudden they're gonna ask you, do you have this, do you have this, do you have this? And all of a sudden if you don't have that, then you gotta be able to retrieve it. So that's one minor issue, but here's what I would say for all of you here today, that it works in that environment. You need to make sure and help those people to understand what it is they need to call in. That would be one thing to speed the process up. The other thing, in fairness, we went from a little less than 900,000 people on the system to, during COVID, we went up to 1.5. So 1.5 million people in the state of Missouri was in the system that was never designed for that many, because that is 25% of our population. So there are 6 million people in Missouri. So 1.5 million, that's 25% of who we are. So that become a change. That change become when the federal government says we're taking anybody and everybody, just sign them up, put them on. Now you have to go back through the system and clean that up, which is where the problem really exists, is now you gotta figure out who's qualified, who's not qualified. And that becomes burdensome. I mean, it's just a tough assignment. We understand that, and we are trying to put more resources in that, more people to answer the calls and stuff, but it is gonna take some time, because you just went from, like I said, 900,000 to 1.5, and now you're trying to figure out, you're probably gonna end up at about 1.2 million, I'm guessing that, of people that's gonna be on that, but it's a lot. I mean, when you talk about 25% of your population and trying to figure out which silo I wanna say they fit in, you know. But the one thing I would tell you that I do know about the call centers, the biggest problem people have is when people call in, because they don't know, they've never called in before, and they don't know the process, and they start asking them for verifications, and they don't have it. That delays the process. And I'm not blaming that, I mean, state's not, we're trying to do a better job, but we're not efficient either. So I don't have a good answer, but I mean, that's what we're doing. So we are putting more people on. And I'm sorry on the number, I think it was 200, I think I said like 200,000. Let me narrow that down to 200 people in that call center. 200,000, I would be out of office. But that's the thing. One thing that Ben brought up on when he's talking about minorities, different ethnic group. One thing I think is very clear, when I say there's openings in boards and commissions, that's one way that you need to be able to serve. You need to have people in your communities that are willing to serve on those boards, because they have everything to do with healthcare, with telemedicine, telehealth. And people are gonna have to get used to switching that over, whether you live in the urban areas or whether you live in the rural areas. You're gonna have to kind of get used to not going to see a doctor. That if you can do it by telemedicine or telehealth, it's gonna be much more efficient for both the patient and the other way that we can provide healthcare. So those are two avenues to be able to do that. The other thing that I went to St. Louis, 6 years ago. I met with the India community up there. And you know, and there's some basic things in life that we all need to remember too. The healthcare, the education pieces are all huge issues. But there's also everyday life. So I went up there and I met with the community, and I was talking to them one time, and they said, Governor, we would like for our kids to be able to play cricket. You know, so you think that's not a big deal, right? Well, it is a big deal. It is a big deal because that's what they play. That's what their kids like to do. That's where the families get together. So I checked in to see, why can't we play cricket in the St. Louis region? Well, what you found out is there's no facilities available for that. Everybody's got it for soccer, for baseball, for football, all the things that kind of go with what our traditional things were. So I remember we literally went out, found a piece of land, worked with the India community, and said, okay, here you go, we're gonna put some bathrooms in here for you, have at it, build cricket fields. Those are the kind of things I say, that's where communications help on the smaller things too. So don't let them get away. Those are things we can do. And we did that, you know, to be able to do that. And I even played cricket, so if you guys want to know about cricket. I don't know anything about the rules, but I know how to hit the ball on that. All right, next question.
Well, regarding the law that it can pass this bill, next Monday they're going to discuss. One of the senators that wants to become a governor is trying to deport the undocumented people who are at school, or they're trying to go and continue their education. Could you tell us a little more about that?
Well, look, ongoing legislation I normally don't comment on because I don't know what that's going to look like at the end of the day. So let me just say this. There's people who get up and they'll say a lot of things in the Senate or the House, and what really comes out of there and gets to my desk is totally two different things. So if I comment on a bill right now, there's no telling what that bill looks like. So if I was to say, yes, no, I agree, no, I don't agree, I don't know what that bill looks like when it gets here. So I'm always reluctant to do that. But here's what I would say. Let me talk about the illegal issue for just a second. I know that's not a political, that's a political hot button topic, how you address that issue. What you're seeing at the southern border, I firmly believe there's a right way to come to this country. I really do. I believe there is. Do I blame the people? Do I blame all the people that's coming across there right now? No, I don't. I mean, if they had an opportunity and a better style of life, I can't blame all of them for that. I think those are things to do. But when you do get here, we got to figure out how we really are going to deal with this situation. How the community is going to deal with it, how is the healthcare center going to deal with it, how is the school going to deal with it, all the things that come along with that. It's not just as simple as saying, here I am, you know, across the United States. And if you look at what that has done to go along with the legislation pieces of it that they're talking about, I think, if you take the 10 million, if there is 10 million people that has come across the border, what they estimate, that is the 10th largest state in the United States. So that's what you gotta do. So whether they're here, what's gonna happen, I don't know in the future of that, but here's what I tell you, what are here, we gotta deal with it. And we gotta figure out how you're gonna handle the situation, you know, because it's still people from all over the world.
And I think part of the conversation, Governor Parson, if I may, is how can we make Missouri more, even more welcoming of immigrants and different groups. I think some of the issue lies that with the way that different immigrant groups are talked about, they're vilified, and it creates distrust at the community level. And I think that's some of our concern, that many of our families that are just living their everyday lives are just worried about their safety.
It's one of the things that I've tried to stress as governor, to be able to do that. To even get documentation in America, sometimes it can take you 6 or 7 years to get that. So just let me tell you how the state was set up. The state was set up where you can renew a driver's license one time. So if you was out there and you were trying to get it documented and trying to get it, and you're here legally doing what you should be doing, but you try to get a driver's license, and we changed that, actually because of that meeting with that Hispanic Chamber and the India community that says we can't renew our license after one time because we don't have a legal status at that point, at no fault to the individuals, but at fault to the government, because you couldn't do it. So we went in there and said, okay, we gotta make an exception for these rules. If they're doing it, what they're supposed to be doing, the last thing we wanna do is make somebody illegally operating a vehicle when it was our fault, basically, to be able to do that. So I think those are the things, that's the education of who we are, and to make sure you're right. You don't want everybody coming over here that's trying to get through the process, which is a lengthy process, that you well know. There's nothing wrong with that. People are doing what they should be doing, and we should be very accepting to that, to be able to do that. And they should have the right, if they're citizens and they're paying their bills and they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and they're going to work, that's what we want. I mean, so why would we put any roadblocks in front of them, do anything else anybody else would do? You know, that's kind of the way I look at it, but that's me. Not everybody sees that way. What hurts us right now, what I think hurts communities in the state, is what you're seeing in the federal government right now, because it's just such a divisive issue across America right now, and it's just tough. It's tough because, like I said, good people get caught up in that sometimes. So you got to have people stand up, just be able to say, hey, look, there's good people here that's coming here and doing it the right way, and they want to be part of the American dream. So we should be there to help.
Yeah, and in St. Louis specifically, I think over 80% are U.S.-born Latinos, and you know, we love our culture, but I think our message is we want to be sure that everybody feels welcome, and sometimes non-immigrant communities feel the effects of some of the language that's used as well. So you know, I think you said it well in the beginning. You lead by faith and by treating others with example. All right, we have other questions from delegates.
But message well taken.
You talk about the, and again, I'm going through education, the fast track.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes.
But I think health, thank you, one, is priority. And then education abroad, starting with early childhood.
Yeah.
So what is the plan for that? Because the parents cannot go to work or go do higher education if they don't feel safe to leave the kids.
Yeah, sure.
And Head Start program, in the areas that need it, low income families.
Yep.
So, and it's a big issue
Good.
in St. Louis.
You teed that up for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what, I love to play.
So we
I get paid.
So
I
we
get paid for that.
So in the State of the State address this year, we made the largest investment in childcare and in early childhood learning. The largest investment in our state's history this year. We actually
Thank
took,
you.
yeah, and we actually took kids, just what you said, below those poverty lines. I forgot where the line was up on it, but now they can go to preschool. They can go to all the things that any other kid can go to at no cost to the parents, to be able to do that. To go along with what you're saying, and I got 6 grandkids and a great grandson that's 8 months old and another one on the way. So if you really want to change society, if we all in this room decided to work together on one thing, throw politics out the window for a second. If you want to work on one thing, it should be making sure every child gets an education. Because I say that, and it sounds pretty good to sit up here and do it, but to do it and provide daycare for every working family is a monumental task. But if you want to change society, if you want to change poverty, if you want to change healthcare, if you want to change crime, you got to make sure and I don't care where the kid gets it, whether he gets it in faith-based, private, charter, public, I don't care, as long as the kid gets an education. That's how you're really going to change the world. But if you took a kid today, you're talking 18 months to see the results, or I'm sorry, 18 years to see the result. We have to think 18 years down the road to be able to do that. The number one reason people don't go to work in this state is daycare. We only have enough for 38%, I think it is, not even 40% of the kids in Missouri to be able to take care of them. It's why we invested to expand daycare centers all over this state. That we're even going to help with wages to be able to people to put more wages to the workers. You got to get workers there. But that is the number one reason parents do not go to work, is because they have inadequate daycare. And another thing that you mentioned is truly important. Where are you going to take your kid where they feel safe? Because if you can't do that, you're not going to take advantage of any of the programs. The other thing I want to add to that, we want to team up with the private sector. So some of you small business owners, some of you people wanting to go into business, you got to be figuring out how you can combine your sources to be able to say, maybe if I went together with 10 businesses, we could provide our own daycare facility and we will come in and help with that. Financially, we would help with that if you could do that. A lot of business, the bigger businesses, are now providing daycare for their workers, just as they do any other benefit to that job, and people are flocking to those businesses. So what I would like to do is let's just take the banks for an example, or maybe a hospital. Somebody that has a lot of employees, why can they not go together, put together a daycare facility in there and take care of their own employees, or to expand to somebody else? Here's why I think that's important to all of us. If they can do that, that opens up seats for other places for kids to go to. That's the way you got to think of that on a big picture. But good points. It's an issue that's very dear to me, and we're going to keep investing. We hope to make a big difference in that this year. The money's there.
Invest $1 and you get 16.
What's that?
Invest $1
Oh,
and you get 16.
okay.
Put that on.
You know,
And that's research.
I'm all about it. Ma'am, you had your hand up back here a while ago.
Yes, I was trying to I piggyback on what you were saying about the fact that we need to educate every child, you know, and we have many children here in our state that to no help of their own, they were here brought from other countries, and they do not have papers, okay, because they were here and they feel that this is their country, this is their state. They have gone through elementary and secondary school, and they're finished, but then it comes to the point that they want to improve themselves. But now we're finding out that they can't do that. You know? So I know you cannot comment on current legislation,
Sure.
but at the same time, we have to understand that if we do not educate these masses, our state will come to an end in the progress, because I mean, it will not affect me necessarily, because I'll be dead by that time, you know. It won't affect you either. But we're looking at our children and our grandchildren. What kind of a society are they going to have if we don't educate everybody that lives in the state? You know, it's going to hurt us all. Crime is going to increase, like you mentioned, and we have to see that everybody, regardless of their birth of origin and their nationality, gets educated. We have some wonderful people right now that are going to other states, and they're not coming back, you know, and we could benefit from their knowledge and their growth, but because of the way that Missouri is reacting to these policies, I mean, we're losing great potentials.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we change it, because I mean, if these people have been here and they've been here and they've got jobs and they're there, we should be able to accept that. You know, again, I mean, I'm not gonna You're just going to have different people with different views on that. You really are. It doesn't mean everybody's like that, though. I don't want to get kind of in that same group either, because I want to help the kids here. However they got here,
Exactly.
if they're here, they're part of us. They are who we are. So I don't have a problem with that. But I just got to be able to speak that and be able to say those things. So that's what I can do as governor. But I can't control what the legislative branch does.
Hi, I'm Alderwoman Daniela Velasquez. I represent the 6th Ward in the city of St. Louis, and I appreciate that your administration has been consistently open to our community. I actually have a bill that I just filed about apprenticeships in the city, so hopefully we can get some more apprenticeship requirements.
Yeah, we like that.
Leave it on that.
Yeah.
But you talked about decision making, and you think you have a group of people here who I think make some of the decisions based on we're a community of faith. We're obviously hard workers. Got 73% of our people are employed.
Yeah.
But can you talk to us about your decision to send the National Guard to the border? Because it does affect our community and how we're perceived. So I would like to hear the reason why you're investing $2 million of the state's money.
Yeah, because I really strongly feel there are 26 states in the United States is committed to this. And these are people from all over the world. Not one group from Nigeria to the Middle East to China to I was just trying to think of some of the other countries, but all over the United States, all over the world that are coming through here. Somehow you got to take care of these. It's not fair for them either, the way it's being treated right now. You got the cartel involved in this. It costs somewhere between $5,000 and $8,000 to get somebody across the river, is what it costs. So this is a scheme on both sides of the river, I guess I want to say. But to just push these people out here and say, here you go, is not fair to any of them either. I mean, what are they supposed to do? They're coming into a country they have no knowledge of how the systems work, and you put them out there in shelters or you put them on the street corners or wherever they might be. That's not fair to anybody. And that's why I think there should be a process to be able to screen people. And I want to echo what I said in the beginning. Is there bad people coming across the border? Yes, there is. I don't think anybody's going to deny that. But there's a lot of people that's not bad people that's trying to come across. And again, I can't blame them for doing that, if you're going to do that. But you have to somehow regulate how that's being done. And to me, it's not fair to the people that come here the way we've been talking about. If you come here the right way, that seems to me the process should be.
But it also seems like that we've got, I didn't hear the stat that Yvonne said, but the thousands of people who are waiting, we're trying to take care of our state. So I'm asking, is that, I mean, I feel like $2 million could be used to help push people who are waiting for Medicaid applications. That would help. I mean, is that, and the right investment?
I don't think it really changes that at all. Those are two different pools of money, and to be right honest about the money we used for that was already there. It was set aside. There's about 4.5 million of that we can use at whatever discretion we want. We can use it for a flood, we can use it for a drought, we can use it for other conditions. So that pool of money sits there all the time. So it's not like we took money away from somebody else to do that. So I want to make sure that's mainly for emergencies and disasters, what that's for, but it always says.
Se presentó Ángel Sorden, jefa de Oficina de Salud de Minorías y Equidad de Salud. El secretario de Estado, Jay Ashcroft, quien informó también sobre sus actividades en su oficina.
On the screen where you want to set your business, and then it says, this is the taxing authorities, this is the zoning authority, this is your county, your municipality. If you're this sort of a business, well, here's the forms from the Department of Agriculture.
Se presentó Ana Huy, directora del Departamento del Trabajo y Relaciones Industriales, a quien se le abordó sobre el proyecto de ley que requeriría que los empleadores públicos con 50 o más empleados se inscriban en un programa federal de autorización de trabajo. Si el empleador no se inscribe en dicho programa y se descubre que ha contratado a un inmigrante indocumentado, entonces el Estado puede perder todas sus licencias, permisos y extensiones hasta por un año.
Representing over 500 businesses in our organization. A front-end question is about E-Verify, and if you could help me understand so that I can further explain it to our members about the requirement that may be coming up. I think it's being voted on next week as to a statute that requires all businesses, all organizations. I'm not sure if my chamber is required to do it as well. I've been asked to do that from a potential member. And the broader question of just the welcoming. I mean, many of our corporate members are coming to us because they need workers.
Right.
And there's many workers who are wanting to work, but documentation. So
Right.
the process is arduous. It's hard to get those who are desperate to work with the people who are desperate to hire them.
Right.
So if you could speak to the broader question in your
Yeah.
capacity,
Yeah.
I understand that,
Okay.
but also the E-Verify specifically.
Sure,
I appreciate
certainly.
that.
Well, number one, I mean, I wish we had more authority and ability to impact the immigration situation overall, because we all know our business need workers, and we have plenty of workers who are here who want to work as well, right? But, you know, again, the legal documentation and the legal status of an individual with E-Verify is really important in that sense. So there's a lot of conversation going on with legislation here in the state, and you know, a lot of it is about using the federal system for E-Verify. So right now, all government employers must use it, right? But private sector employers don't. So unless you're doing work for the government.
Can you speak to the legislation that's pending?
Yes, so there are a number of different versions of the legislation. I think the main thing is, you know, for the government, at the state and local level, it's really about employers, right? So our ability to impact this conversation, this topic, is about working with the employers to understand, again, what is the requirements for folks to work here? What is the sort of documentation? And that, you know, work status, of having legal work status, is from the U.S. Department of Labor, the Office of Foreign Labor Certification, right? So it starts there. But there are these bigger conversations where we're having in terms of saying, you know, immigration is such a vital part of how the United States historically has addressed, you know, workforce shortages in needing, you know, workers here. And we understand that there is a legal status issue that has to be addressed through that. And that's what some of these proposed pieces of legislation are trying to utilize that federal system. Now, federal system's not perfect, and in fact, it is very cumbersome, right? So if you're a small employer and you don't have a lot of folks that you're trying to employ, and you have to do this E-Verify system, I think like every 2 to 3 months you have to redo your password and login, right? Which is very challenging,
It's
especially
taken me so long that I was like, I'll get to that later.
Right.
And I'm still working on it.
Right. So it is something, again, that exists, that a lot of big employers use and use quite well, and you know, but it also, there's like a data lag in that system too, so it's not always up to date. And so there are challenges to that, but I think the main thing, again, is, you know, there's been a lot of conversation by the supporters of that type of legislation, that they just want to make sure that there's a level playing field for all workers, right? And that by requiring employers to use E-Verify to verify someone's legal status to work here in the United States is what they're trying to use that system for. And so, because the state really doesn't have any other ability to check it, and frankly, you know, everyone thinks, oh, it's the Department of Labor, you should be able to address this. At the state level, we really don't have any authority on that. We actually have to work with the Attorney General's office. So like when someone gets, if we have an employer who is utilizing work of individuals who don't have legal status here, then that's a report and a complaint that goes to the AG's office. And then the AG's office even doesn't have full authority there. They have to work with the federal government, Homeland Security on that as well. So it's the bigger topic of immigration, and how do we address that? We've had a lot of conversation from the state's perspective in terms of, again, talking about employers having lots of vacancies out there, right? And very persistent vacancies. We've seen that across the board in across different industries too. And so our conversations with our federal partners and our congressional members is, you must address it, and you probably need to address it through immigration. Right? And Congress is really the only body that can fully address that. And so I think, again, we need to be consistent in addressing those issues broadly to make sure that, again, the different perspectives are included in that.
Todos los participantes se dividieron en diversos grupos para visitar a distintos oficiales de la legislatura de Missouri y presentarse con ellos para manifestar las inquietudes de la comunidad. Independientemente del tamaño de la población de un estado, cada estado tiene igual representación en el Senado con 2 senadores. En total hay 100 senadores federales. Josh Hawley y Eric Schmidt son los actuales senadores federales de Missouri. Además de los senadores federales, muchos estados también tienen sus propios cuerpos legislativos y estatales, a menudo divididos en 2 cámaras, la Cámara de Representantes y el Senado estatal. El estado de Missouri cuenta con 34 senadores estatales. El equipo de Red Latina, junto con Leslie Hernández de Mi Madre Aprendí y la señora Hanini Gilbert del Hispanic Festival, acudieron a entrevistar a la senadora de Missouri, Angela Walton Mosley, representando al Distrito 13, quien junto con su esposo Jay Mosley nos dieron una cordial bienvenida. Posteriormente visitamos a Brian Williams, senador por el Distrito 14 del estado, quien se dio el tiempo de mostrarnos la Cámara de Representantes y hablar sobre su trabajo en ella.
I am one of the persons who organizes a lot of activities with the Hispanic community. I had started a Hispanic festival.
I've been to the Hispanic festival before.
So the three of us are international students.
Okay.
We
And where you
come
originally from?
Colombia.
Okay.
We've been
Absolutely.
here, well, I've been here in St. Louis. I've been here for like 3 years. 2
Yeah.
years.
So what part of Colombia? You know, I've been to Cali.
Cali.
Yeah.
So good to be back together again after a long morning and a long afternoon of being able to talk with so many elected officials. You know, I'm really honored that we were able to organize this event. Hispanic Capital Day is an event that has been going on for the last 23 years, and it's just been amazing for our community to walk these halls and to represent our community that's growing in St. Louis, our Hispanic community that's growing out in Kansas City, in Columbia, Springfield, Southeast Missouri. I'm really proud of each and every one of you, and thank you for your commitment. When we came here today, we said that we envisioned a Missouri where every individual and family, regardless of their background, feels welcome, valued, and included. I think we were able to tell our stories today.
I am the first Latina elected in the city of St. Louis. And I know we're not in here in the city of St. Louis, but what we have said, we've got Representative Robbie Sauls here from Kansas City. And I want to mention the idea of being the first because I'm glad you're all here because less than 3% of electeds nationwide are Latino, Latina, less than 3%. Now we're 20% of the population. So when you have folks like Representative Sauls, we have folks like Representative Ashley Owney who are here, who are doing the work and who are at the table. And you know, I think it's important to recognize that when we talk about, I'm going to step away from the podium for a second. You know, Shirley Chisholm had this quote that if you don't have a seat at the table, bring your own folding chair. And so when we talk about the idea of representation, and when we see the things that are coming down the pipeline, the things that are being proposed and presented, which we've been talking to representatives about today, we know that a lot of these things that are being proposed are not being proposed by people from our communities, right? And so we need to think about not only how do we find our voice and how do we share our story, and how do we make sure that our voices are heard, so those kinds of proposals don't make it out, so there's somebody at the table who's saying, no, we don't need a bill that puts a marker for citizenship. We don't need to target people who are already working here or who are trying to have a better life. We don't need that. We need to work on things that when we talk about the economy, we talk about how to have a better life, we need to be focusing on those things and we don't need to be political pawns in these conversations. Which is why it's important that you all are here today. And it's also, I'm going to do the shameless plug again, because what I talked a lot about in my campaign was being the first but not the last. And in a conversation, sorry I keep on calling you out, Robbie, with Representative Sauls, but a conversation we just had, we need people to run so we can have a Latino caucus, right? And so we talk about, this is why it's important. So I just want to thank you all for being here. Thank you all for telling our stories, and that we have to keep telling our stories, and why this is the first Hispanic Capital Day in a couple of years. I know it's our 23rd. So definitely not be the last. We're going to keep on telling our stories. So thank you.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to be spent today here. My name is Angelica Cano, and I represent the heart and soul for our community through the Hispanic Networking Group in the Ozarks. We are not just a networking, we are a become a hub and a starving for the connections among the Hispanic business, leaders and extend a hand to anyone eager to join us in celebrating and supporting our vibrant community. Our mission is simple, grow and impact. We believe in breaking barriers, not just for Hispanics, but for anyone who wishes to connect with us. Our doors are open to all, reflecting our beliefs in the power of uniting and collaboration. It is inspiring to see local business, no matter the roots, coming together to tap into the rich tapestry of the Hispanic community. Our vision goes beyond business. We are on the front line raising funds and supporting causes that uplift our people. This isn't just about the networking, it's about nurturing community that has consistently proved to be an integral part of the state of Missouri.
Tuvimos la oportunidad de entrevistar a varios participantes del evento.
¿Cómo te pareció hasta ahorita lo que hemos visto?
Ha sido una experiencia muy enriquecedora, hemos aprendido muchas cosas por lo que tenemos que seguir luchando como latinos por nuestros derechos y alzar nuestra voz porque no nos podemos dejar, este país nos necesita.
¿Qué fue lo que más te impresionó de lo que viviste el día de hoy?
Ay, cómo nos trataron todas las personas, o sea, igual, aunque sean de altos rangos, son muy
amables.
Sí, muy down to earth.
Y tienen en cuenta
lo tratan a uno muy bien.
Lo que más me impactó fue cómo la comunidad hispana ha logrado conseguir terreno, por así decirlo, como ha ampliado sus contactos y demás para conseguir trabajo y estudio en este país.
Porque este país está hecho de
inmigrantes.
¿Qué fue lo que más te gustó del día de hoy?
Difícil. Ver a todos los del house debatir y hablar y votar. Como que me abrió los ojos a diferentes cosas.
Sí, como que ya te dan ganas ahora de la política. Ay,
No,
Dios mío.
de nada, no. Menos ganas.
¿Verdad? No, es que está rudo. Se dice fácil, pero está rudo. Quien se mete a la política es porque tiene que tener mucha pasión por esto.
Claro.
Tiene que hacer sonar su voz y tiene mucho trabajo.
Claro. Dedicación.
¿Conociste a varios senadores, representantes?
Están muchos ocupados allá debatiendo.
Este grupo nuevo del Hispanic Leaders Group, ¿qué te parece?
Muy bien, muy bueno.
Sangre nueva.
Mucha energía. Muy bien, muy organizados.
Sin dejar de darle todo su respeto y el valor a los 40 años de trabajo que hizo el grupo anterior.
Claro.
Impresionante el trabajo que ha hecho, porque gracias a ellos es que hoy estamos aquí. ¿Cómo te pareció el día? So far, so good?
Hey, so far, so good. No, it's been a great day. We've had lots of state lawmakers really willing to hear us and listen to the concerns of the Hispanic delegation. So I feel like today's been a wonderful success. I think they just want to feel, included, feel wanted, not feel villainized or, or anything else. Because we want to work hard and really, build a life for our loved ones and live the American dream. So we want to be able to fulfill those jobs. There's lots of job openings throughout the state. Some of those could be poised for immigrants from all over, for other Latinos, for Latino professionals coming from other countries or from around the country. So again, we just want to have a friendly, welcoming state that welcomes all of these folks to really drive our economy to be what it can be.
Come on, if you want changes, you need to come over and be part of this movement. Because everybody can complain, but if you are not here doing something, how things are going to change?
When our state lawmakers see us, touch us, they know we're real, they know our buying power is real, they know our leadership is real, and that makes a difference. So they know our voice matters. So we're an important part of the fabric that makes up Missouri, and they can, it's important for them to hear directly from us, not to hear about us.
What's the most important issue that we discussed today for you?
Education, housing discrimination, and they have more language access to our community.
¿Qué es lo más importante que los latinos tienen que tomar conciencia para que se hagan cambios?
Yo pienso que participar, ser partícipes, conocer cuáles son los planteamientos que están haciendo sus gobernantes y sus representantes locales. No debemos dejar que las personas decidan por nosotros, tenemos que integrarnos y entender y siempre defender nuestras creencias y lo que pensamos y siempre estar al día con lo que está pasando en su estado, en su ciudad y tener voz.
Voten. You have to vote. You only can make change happen if you actually decide to vote. If you have not registered to vote, go and register. Si no se han registrado para votar, tienen que hacerlo. Es tan importante. No solamente van a ayudarse a sí mismos, pero también a sus familias, a sus compañeros de trabajo, en la escuela, los estudiantes. So tienen que votar. No se los olvide. Vote today. Well, get ready to vote. Register.
A votar y regístrate. ¿Cómo hacemos para atraer más jóvenes a estos eventos?
Atraer más jóvenes, pues a buscarlos en las universidades, en los colegios. Hay que darles su incentivo de que ellos son el futuro de nuestra representación hispana aquí. Pero nosotros tenemos que dar buen ejemplo también. Tenemos que ser partícipes de nuestra democracia. Me gustó mucho lo que dijo el gobernador de hacer parte de más boards and commissions. Si nosotros representamos, y lo que dijo Daniela Velázquez también estuvo muy chévere, que tenemos que, si somos nada más 3% en los gobiernos y somos 20% de la población, tenemos que incrementar nuestra participación.
Es un año importante de elecciones. ¿Cómo vamos a hacer para que grandes y chicos estén aquí?
Yo creo que todos tenemos que ser la voz de nuestra comunidad. Todos tenemos que hablar con los jóvenes, con personas que conocemos, no solamente entre nosotros aquí como líderes del Hispanic Leaders Group, sino también cuando vamos a un restaurante y ves a gente que te hablan en español y te saludan en español, hablarles a ellos y decirle, mira, hola, yo soy miembro del Hispanic Leaders Group, conoces a este grupo, estamos aquí haciendo advocación para el grupo, ¿qué son las cosas que te preocupan a ti, qué necesitas para tu familia? Estamos en otro sitio y estás en una fiesta y ves gente que son hispanas y te la presentan, alguien te dice, mira, ella es también de Colombia, mire, conoces el Hispanic Leaders Group. O sea, creo que todos tenemos que ser una voz que unimos a otros, invitamos a otros a ser de la voz y a los que no son hispanos también, y decirle a los que nos apoyan, los allies, ¿no? A nuestras alianzas, los aliados, decirles a ellos también, mira, esto es la cosa que está pasando, esto es lo que nos preocupa y esto es lo que nos va a ayudar. Y yo creo que los mensajes positivos acerca de nuestra comunidad son muy importantes, porque si la gente solamente oye, ellos necesitan, eso no es un mensaje completo. Sí necesitamos ayuda en muchos campos, pero también aportamos, exacto. Entonces, contribuimos, aportamos, hacemos, somos parte de la comunidad, somos líderes, somos voluntarios, somos ayudantes, somos contribuidores en muchos sentidos profesionalmente, como estudiantes, como amigos, como compañeros, como gente buena, que nos ayudamos cada uno el uno al otro.
Ok, 1 de cada 10 no tiene estudios universitarios de los que vienen aquí a Estados Unidos a buscar una mejor vida. Pero tenemos una población muy grande y somos la mayoría de las minorías, somos la más grande. ¿Por qué? Porque nos necesitan. ¿Por qué? Porque habemos doctores, abogados, contadores, trabajadores, médicos, de todo. Hay gente muy valiosa y eso es lo que tenemos que también hacerles ver.
Sí. Abrimos las puertas para muchas personas y damos servicios no solamente a los hispanos, sino a toda la comunidad.
Acudimos a la mansión del gobernador para hablar de nuestras impresiones y que el grupo conviviera con los asistentes. Juntos podemos construir un Missouri próspero y acogedor para todos. Únase al Día Hispano en el Capitolio, informó para Red Latina Cecilia Velázquez.